Okay, this is the story about how God blessed me with a car. And so I am filming this video today from my car. From the beginning of 2021, I told myself I am going to be a driver. I am supposed to be driving. I had a lot of faith. Like, I can say that in 2021, I had like the most faith that I ever felt I had in my entire life. Like, I just believed in God's provision. I remember I started thanking God for my car before I got it. I started thanking God for allowing me to be a driver before it even happened. At this point in time, I couldn't really drive. I didn't even have my driver's license yet, but I was determined to get my driver's license. And so I took the driving test in January of 2021 and I failed. I really thought I was going to pass, but I failed. And that's okay because I just rescheduled it and I took the test again, and I think it was April. Yeah, I think it was in the month of April. So I took the driving test again in the month of April and I passed. And then 2 weeks later, I went to the dealership, and I remember I had about, I don't know how much I had. I think I had about I had like $5,000 in savings at that point. Yeah. So I remember I had about $5,000 in savings at that point, but I did not have any income. I didn't have any unemployment. I didn't have any income whatsoever. I didn't have a job, but God still did it. About 2 weeks after getting my license is when I decided to go get a car, but my mom was the one who initiated that conversation. So the morning that I was going to go to the dealership, my ex-boyfriend sent me a picture of the car that he thought looked really nice. And when he sent the picture, I thought that car looked really nice too. I was like, wow, I really like this car, but I don't think I can afford it. So I'm just gonna have to pick out something that I can afford. My mom came with me to the dealership that day. I thought she was gonna help me like pay for it or something, but no, she was just there to make sure I got the car. She was just there because she wanted to be there, I guess, but I found out that I'm paying for it. We're at the dealership. It was her idea, but I'm paying for this car. And I was like, okay. So I picked out this black car that I wasn't too crazy about. It didn't look that great, but it was still usable. It was still a car. So I was like, okay, let's sign up for this car. And then when I sat down to sign the papers for it, they were like, no, we can't sell you this car because we already sold it to someone else. And then the man, what do you call people who sell cars? The car dealer? The man who was selling me the car, but he pointed to the car behind me. And he was like, but you can have that car for the same price as the one you picked out. And the car behind me was the car that my ex-boyfriend sent me in the morning, and the car that we both loved. So it was like, wow, this has to be God. What a coincidence. This is not a coincidence. This is God. Okay, this has to work out. So after that happened, I started thinking about the money. I picked out this car. They're gonna ask me about my income. I don't know how I'm gonna get past that part, but I go in the bathroom and I start praying. I start thanking God for the car. I'm just leaving it up to God. I leave the income section blank. The man sat down with me, and then he was like, you can't put down that you make $0. That's not gonna work. And then he typed out whatever he needed to type out I didn't ask him to do anything. He did this all on his own, and he got me approved for a car loan. And so I'm getting really excited because the one hurdle that was in the way, I don't have income, I don't have a job, I should not have been approved for this car loan. And this man got me approved for a car loan without me asking. He did what he needed to do to get me that car. He wanted to sell that car. And I was like, okay, God, I received the car. Thank you. And so I signed all the papers and I drove off that parking lot. I drove the opposite direction on the one way. So I'm already off to a bad start, but I'm just happy. I'm like, wow, God gave me this car. I'm trying to figure out how to drive it. I just got my license 2 weeks ago and I barely know how to drive it. And I'm following my mom. I went home and I tried to figure out what all the buttons do. I was sitting in my car. I turned on the radio and the song that came on was Jireh. It was on a Christian station. And then I was like, oh, I know this is God because I turned on the car for the first time and a Christian song came on and I put it on my Instagram story. And then a guy who saw my Instagram story, he told me that Jireh means God, my provider. And so that kind of tied everything together. And I know for a fact that God gave me this car. And every day when I get in this car, I thank Him because I was still learning how to drive when I got this car. And there was so many times where I could have been in an accident from my poor driving, but I know that God protected me. I can honestly say there has not been a day that I did not pray before driving for the day. Like, I pray that God protects this car. I pray that God protects other people and other cars from me and my driving. There was so many times that I could have been in an accident, but I know that God protected me. I know that He kept me. And even though I'm a pretty good driver now, I still pray before I drive because you never know. Like, driving is more dangerous than flying in an airplane. And no matter how good of a driver you are, there's still other people. Like, freak accidents still happen. And honestly, I trust God to keep me safe. I do not trust in my own driving skills. Even though I'm pretty good now, I still wouldn't trust. I still do not put all the trust in myself. And so, yeah, I hope this encourages someone. A lot of the times, as Christians, we go to church and we say things like, oh yeah, God's got me, God's my provider, but yet we still choose to worry and we still choose to be afraid, and we're still like, oh, when is the next paycheck gonna come? Who's gonna do this? Who's gonna do that? We still get worried about so many things. If we find ourselves worried, that means that we do not trust God. What is the point of going to church and singing all these Christian songs about how great God is when you don't even trust Him to provide your needs? Like, it's not adding up. If you say He is my God and in Him I trust, then when a situation comes to test us and how much we trust Him, we should be passing that test, right? Because we're singing about how great He is and how good He is to us and how much He loves us. We should be able to trust a God like that, right? If you say you believe in God, if you say that you trust God, put your faith where your mouth is and stop worrying so much. Give it to God, pray in the morning, and I'm going to need you to start believing in the God who you sing about. I'm going to need you to start believing in the God who you're praying to. I'm going to need you to start believing for real, in the God who you're sharing with people all the time. Like, if you believe that He's so great, then I want to see you trust Him, okay? Because I have so many stories. If God gives you something, if let's say God gives you a child, like say I'm a mom I'm a mom too. And there have been times where my relationship with God wasn't that great and it wasn't that strong, but I can say that I trusted Him to provide. Even though I have not been perfect, and I am still not a perfect being, I'm not a perfect Christian. So on my channel, don't expect perfect Christianity, okay? On my channel, you can expect a girl who's just doing life, who believes in God, but I am a flawed human being, and I am not here trying to be Miss Perfect. But one thing that I can say is that I trust God to provide for me. So one day in church, I heard a pastor telling this girl, if God gave you the child, He's going to provide for that child. So don't worry. And so that always stuck with me, because I'm a mom and I have a child. Well, I have a child now. I didn't have a child back then, but I do now. And I always kept that in my mind, that if God gave me this child, then He will provide for the child. And no matter how messed up my point of view of God was in the past 2 years, I still saw Him come through for me, because when I was in need, I humbled myself and I went to Him, and I believed that He was going to come through. God is not moved primarily through emotion. God is moved through our faith. We see it over and over again in the Bible, that when someone came to Him with faith, no matter if they were an outsider or not, He moved on their behalf because of their faith. Have some faith. Believe that God will provide for you, because He will. I promise you, if you start believing, you will see God move in your life like never before. And that's coming from me, because I do not claim to be a perfect Christian, and I do not claim to have it all together. I'm a very flawed person, but I've seen the hand of God in my life, and I've seen how He provided, and I've seen how He provided job after job after job for me. I've seen how He kept the bills paid. I've seen how He kept food on the table for me. Ooh. Dang. I promise you, I am not Miss Holy over here. I'm really not. But I am a person who has faith. And God will not fail you when you believe in Him. God will not fail you when you place your trust in Him. God will protect you if you believe. God will provide if you believe. God will match your faith. God will meet you where your faith is. So that's all I have to say for today. My name is Trish, and this is my YouTube channel. Yeah, I just wanted to share that story, and hopefully someone got something from this, and hopefully this lands on the right person's computer. So if you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe. Okay, that is all. Thank you for watching my video today. The sun is going down. I'm about to drive home. If you want to see more of my videos in the future, please subscribe and like and comment. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I wish you all the love, all the peace, all the strength, all the encouragement, all the goodness, all the rainbows. Okay? Have a good one. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.